Ciao, homie!
The 2021 Magnus Magnusson Strongman Classic is underway, and it starts with Event 1, an event after my own heart, the Stone Press World Championships. And so, why do I say that? Well, this is the event I do most often, where I run off into hiking trails, try to find a stone that's a challenging weight, and press it overhead. And Magnus Magnusson has set up a contest that's all outdoors at various locations. Each event is at a different picturesque location in Iceland, and basically they're finding implements from their surroundings and seeing if they can lift them. So it is a real departure from some of the other shows we've seen as of late, and a refreshing take on strongman to try to lift not only weird implements, but implements in their own surroundings, which really was the genesis of my whole channel, being able to stay fit during the world situation using things all around you. So this contest really has become near and dear to my heart the more of it that I watch. So the way that the stone press work is you have 2 failures allowed before you're out of the event. The athlete chooses which weight stone they'd like to try. If they fail it, they can try another stone of any weight. It doesn't have to be the next weight up. And if they fail that one too, they're out of the event. They're eliminated. If the athlete does not fail, they get to go 3 times. So they choose 3 different weights. They have to submit those weights. And let's say they're 105 kilo, 112 kilo, and 122 kilo. After the 122, you don't get another attempt. So that's it. So they have to be very careful with how they pick their weights. That being said, how did the results turn out for the stone press at the 2021 Magnus Magnusson Strongman Classic? Well, we had Lautaro Lorda. He had a no lift, unfortunately, 0 points for him. He got the 105 kilo stone a bit off his chest, but couldn't get much of a press. He seemed a bit dizzy afterward. Not much dip in leg drive, which I found to be vital with these type of presses. Not that I'm any kind of pro or even successful amateur, but I'm just a layman walking through the woods. But I found a push press technique to be really vital. If you try to strict press the stone, it's really, really hard, unless you're a world-class strict presser, which some of these guys are. But I was surprised at that. We then had a 0 no lift going to Yorick Lorenzon as well. He got a shot at the 112 kilogram stone after missing the 105. He had it all the way pressed, but it rotated forward in his hands at the top and fell forward without a controlled lockout, so he didn't get the good call. Second attempt at it rotated forward too, but not fully pressed this time, so it rotated a little earlier on the way up, so a bummer for him. The one thing I should mention also is the live stream on day 1 unfortunately cut off a bit of the beginning, so probably 10 or 11 out of the 14 guys had their shot at the 105 kilo stone before we were able to see anything, but then they kind of got it pretty cleaned up after that. In all of the first 4 events that I've watched so far, there were maybe like 2 cutouts in the live stream, so not perfect, but not terrible either. Perfectly watchable for me. I'm still enjoying it. That being said, I had to kind of derive and sleuth a little bit as to why certain guys were lifting certain weights, but that was pretty easy to figure out. Going on up the list, we have 5 points going to Teodormar Goodmanson, and his clean wasn't a problem at the 112 kilogram weight. He did get the 105. He did that little few-inch adjustment press off the chest that I've found myself doing so often as well. It's interesting because you clean the stone, and then you can't just press it. You have to, press it up 2 or 3 inches so that you have space to position your hands underneath it and then do the press. So it was really interesting to see, kind of a world-class type guy doing what I do in the woods. So very, very interesting. But he threw it forward, took a bow, was never able to get good footing for the leg drive there on the 112. Moving on up, 5 points. We'll go to Stan Carradine. It's interesting because, as I mentioned earlier, this was happening out in the snow. Like there was a light covering of snow on the mats and all over the grounds. Stan was all bundled up, but in shorts, so it was pretty funny. He was able to clean the 127 kilo stone twice, but no press. So he got the 105 and skipped all the way to the 127 for a second attempt. He then tried the 133 kilogram after failing the 127. He got the press halfway up after a tremendous back arch that had the staff running behind him for a spot because it just seemed like he may possibly fall backward, but he never did. His arms looked a little bit shorter than some of the other guys, and he's shorter in stature than some of the other guys as well, like me. And so he had to squeeze with his forearms really hard to compensate for not being able to reach around the stone as far. So I found that really interesting. He found a way, but only the 105 kilogram stone for Stan. 5 points also go to Pierre Motal, who also manages the 105-kilogram stone. He had the 112-kilogram stone mostly there, but couldn't quite get the lockout. He wobbled backward on his second attempt. 5 points also go to Dennis Kohlroos. He is Germany's strongest man 2021. He got the 105-kilogram stone. His first attempt that I saw was at 127, but because they didn't show the 105. He weighs 175 kilograms, so it's interesting to put together what he's lifting with his body weight. He's lifting in jeans, which is crazy. He seemed really focused with balance and controlling it rather than using lots of leg drive, so no leg drive at all. He was wobbly at the lockout and had to drop it. His second attempt had even less progress, and then he tried the 133-kilo stone. He used a slight dip this time, but still focusing totally on controlling the stone's position and didn't get the lift there. Not quite enough leg drive, perhaps. And at this time, I'd like to let you know that this video is being sponsored by our good friends at Garage Gym Life Media. If you like some of the analysis I've done on domestic contests in the past and want to know some more about the fine folks who are putting together and streaming some of those contests, I'm going to let John Greaves III, the founder of Garage Gym Life Media, tell you a little more about it.
Training in a home gym, especially if you're training by yourself, can be tough because sometimes you just don't have the motivation to go in your garage or your basement and get it done. And that's why we stream competitions every month on the Garage Gym Life Media YouTube channel. I'm John Greaves III, founder of Garage Gym Life Media, and after 20 years of training in a home gym, I can tell you that there's some days when I just don't feel like training. And those are the days when I put on some sort of training video or other strength-related content to give me the extra motivation I need to get in there and get it done. There is nothing more motivating than seeing people achieving their goals at a powerlifting meet or a strongman competition. And that's why month after month, we provide that content to you right there in the comfort of your own home on our YouTube channel. Plus, we leave it up forever so you can always just throw it on in the background anytime you need that extra dose of motivation to get you going. And that's why if you're not already a subscriber to Garage Gym Life Media, I invite you to take advantage of this opportunity to add this powerful training tool into your arsenal, because I want you to succeed right there in the best gym in town.
5 points and the 105-kilogram stone go to Maxime Boudreau as well. So the 105 was easy for him, no problems at all. And Maxime was one of the first guys I saw lift, so I'm noticing the amazing outdoor backdrop that I'll show you some photos of above. And so they're all in their winter clothes. His next attempt was at 127 kilos. He flipped it up onto his chest pretty easily, which may have surprised him and pushed him back off balance. After regaining his balance, he seemed to have nothing left for the press. He looks really cold. You know, the weather seeming to get to him as well as some of the other guys. Then at 133 kilograms, it was belabored, even rolling it high enough up on his chest to attempt to press. He looked really winded afterward. And then the staff seemed to think the same thing because they came over and asked if he's okay. But then he kind of immediately snapped out of that supposed fog or whatever and clearly said to the camera, no, I just can't get my hands under it. So like didn't seem like winded or dizzy or anything like that. He was just maybe thinking about what had just happened. As we move on up the list, 10 points go to Thomas Dari Torningston. And so he manages the 112-kilogram stone. So there was a little delay in the action as the guys needed to communicate to the judges which weights they're going for. And then, as I mentioned here, wow, check out this technique. He's a smaller guy, but wraps his arms around the bottom corners so his hands can get underneath from the front. So over, around, and under. So he has a really firm grasp on the stone, and it let him flip it up efficiently onto his chest. So when you wrap that much over, you kind of like have the momentum to get it flipped. And then the strict press was amazingly easy for him, partially probably because he saved so much energy on that very, very efficient clean. He then tries the 122 kilogram and had it up, but rolled it forward out of his hands at the top. This stone, the 122, happens to be a trapezoid shape. So the smaller stone, the 105, was more of a square shape. And he gets it locked out just long enough after resting it on his chest and getting his hands under it. He's using gloves, so he was the first guy I saw using gloves. He ends up dumping it behind him. Then they call it a mix-up and say he didn't get it. So he got it up, locked it out, dumped it behind him. They said good lift, and then afterward they said no, it was a mix-up after all. He didn't get it because it actually was his third attempt, which he wasn't allowed. So he had made other attempts, and after 2 fails, that's it. So it was a third attempt that nobody noticed until after he actually lifted the stone, which was crazy. Moving on up the list, 10 points also go to one of my favorites, Sigfus Foster, who I'm really rooting for to do very well here. He was one of the only guys I saw using gloves. He was also using shades, so I don't know, maybe there was a glare off of the snow. He missed the lockout on the first press, then he catches it on his chest, gets a good press on his second attempt, and I'm really starting to notice how large this stone is, the 112, when they're standing it up to wipe it off. So the way the dimensions are is it's wider. It's wider and bigger in 2 dimensions than it is in the height dimension. So when they stand it up, you're like, whoa, that's way bigger than any stone I've ever tried to lift in the forest. So that being said, he skipped the 122 kilogram after getting the 112, and he went for 127. He got it much of the way up, but then the right arm gave out more than the left arm, and it kind of toppled over to the side. 10 points, though, for Sigfus Foster. 10 points over also went to Irvin Toits. So the 112 kilogram was wobbly on the lockout for his first attempt. Then he easily strict presses his second attempt at it, but dumps it behind him, and it nicks his left shoulder on the way down. So he got it. He got a good lift, but he maybe got a little bit hurt on the way down. He presses the 127 kilogram only high enough to roll it over his head and drop it behind him as he ran forward, so no lift there on the 127. 10 points also went to Christian Jon Haraldsson, and he gets the 112 kilogram stone as well. He was very smooth and solid with no push press on the 112 kilogram, so strict press that one amazingly. I don't think he tried the 105, but again, that part of the video was cut off, so not sure. They said he may have opted for the better size shape, regardless of weight, so maybe started with the 112 because he liked the shape better. And then during the 122 kilogram clean, he drops it and grabs his left shoulder, so hoping at this point, no injuries for Christian. 10 points also go to Samia Hola, who actually is performing very well in a variety of different events in this contest. 112 kilogram, much more square stone than a 105. He has a nice press here. Magnusson said that they got lucky with the weather compared to this morning, so I would have hate to see what that was because there was snow on the ground here as it is. But, I kind of love this outdoor stuff, as I mentioned before. It's very, very different from other contests, and it's really cool to see something this different. Not that Giants Live contests that are very, very produced aren't exciting. They're super exciting, but this may be sort of more raw, less produced is just another, you can like sushi and you can like steak. It's another different kind of awesome. So he got fairly close to a lockout at 127 kilograms, but then gasses and no press attempt on his second clean. 13 points go to Ryan England. So I didn't see him attempt anything until the 127 kilo, which is a little bit crazy. But he's a great presser. So the clean wasn't easy, but solid. He adjusted it higher on his chest after a suggestion from maybe a trainer. I heard a voice coming from the side saying adjust it higher on your chest. The press was not a problem. He got a good call on his second try at 133 kilos, but it didn't look like a lockout to me. They gave it to him, but I didn't think it was a lockout. I'll show you a photo and you can judge for yourself. I promise I tried to get it as close to the apex as I could. Although he handled it better on the second try after dropping it in the snow, which was crazy because you drop it, it gets all wet, and then he did better with a wet stone, so that was pretty crazy. 133 kilograms now becomes a rectangular stone at this point, so kind of Mauser block shaped, but a little bit more irregular. He elects to try for a new record at 142 kilograms, and as I wrote here, I was surprised by that because I didn't think he locked out the last stone. So he attempts to try that. They go get this special 142 kilogram record stone, which they're keeping in a warm, dry environment. So it takes a little bit of time to get it out for him. They wire brush it off for him. They clean it off very well. He looks at it. He says, wow, this is a beautiful stone. So it was creating quite a moment of suspense here. And then as I wrote here, I was shocked. That was so close to a new record. It could have even been called a soft lockout. He ends up dropping it forward. So, a little bit less of a strict ref might have even given him a new world record there after missing the stone before that weighed less at 133 kilos. So great comeback for Ryan, but doesn't quite get the call. 14 points go to Eithor Ingolfsson Melsted, very well known from his World's Strongest Man tenure, and he's dressed very warmly in sweats, not the typical showing off his great abs for a strongman that we usually see from Eithor. He's also been on my show, so if you haven't checked out that interview, please go to my interview section and check it out. You will love it. That was another good one. So his first attempt was at 127 kilos. He skipped a couple of the lighter weights. The clean and chest positioning was super controlled. He gets one hand in position at a time, very controlled. press almost locked out, comes back down. He doesn't even rest it on his chest, so comes back down kind of halfway, and then he goes right back up and easily presses and locks out on the second attempt. It seems like Athor asked for 137 kilo, equaling the record after that, and that was a near perfect clean and press when he did that one. He definitely had more in the tank after equaling his world record. He probably could have gone for that 142 that Ryan England did and gotten it. Athor just a beautiful clean and press, and I'll put up a picture of that as well. You should go watch the footage, though, because it was really a sight to behold for learning how to press a stone the right way. Athor has tons and tons of experience here, and it showed. And so that's how the stone press turned out at the 2021 Magnusson Strongman Classic. Let's have a look at the next event, the Yoke and Farmers Medley, by clicking here.